Well, the jobs outlook still pretty bleak, but when it comes to top talent, hiring executives, it looks like demand is actually outpacing supply. Kevin Kelly is the CEO of executive recruiting firm Heidrick and Struggles and joins us now. And we were just having the conversation about how the U.S. truly isn't the center of the world in many ways anymore. When you look at recruiting talent, where are most top executives and CEOs going right now?
Well, you see, even though the U.S. ranks in our global talent index number one, it still has its challenges. For example, do executives today have the cultural quotient? What we see in terms of demand, a supply-demand issue is it's great if you have the IQ, and we talk a lot about the EQ and the social skills that you need, but do you have the cultural quotient that's lacking in many executives today? And therein lies a challenge when it comes to recruiting executive talent at the top.
What about compensation? We spoke about this in Davos, but when you look at all the pressure, especially in the financial sector, to rein back compensation for top executives at banks, is that taking its toll? Are we seeing talent flee that sector, at least in this country?
I think what's happened, actually, banking's been interesting this year, specifically because you saw a lot of the major financial institutions retain employees last year, given the jobs market, particularly when it came to certain sectors of finance. But what we've seen is all of a sudden there's been a push again to recruit top talent, particularly in banking, investment banking, and other areas. And the walls just it just opened up over the last 3 weeks, where there was kind of quiet for the first 2 months of the year, which is rare.
When you look at compensation for U.S. CEOs, are U.S. CEOs overpaid on a global basis?
Well, it's interesting, there's different dynamics. For example, in Europe, continental Europe, the average CEO gets about 850,000 plus euros. In the UK, it's about £3.5 million. Here in the US, it's roughly $7 to $8 million. But a large component of that is actually equity-based. So, I think it's relative. And Asia is completely different. You have a lot of family-owned businesses there. So, it's not an apples-to-apples comparison today.
Energy is a huge player in all of this, both in China and really in Canada in terms of supply and resources right now.
Yeah, Canada's fascinating. I mean, given the demand, and obviously you mentioned the energy, there's a lot of talent right now looking to go to Canada for that specific reason. Additionally, most of the financial institutions in Canada weathered the financial crisis very well.
Absolutely they did. What about China? Are you still most bullish in terms of where the growth is going to be in China at this point, or is India creeping up?
Going back to my comment around market shares, you have Chinese companies, you have Indian companies, you have other Asian companies looking to come to America and capture market share and drive their businesses over here. So not only are they expanding domestically, but also abroad at this point.
What about Europe? When we spoke 6 months ago or so, you said Europe is lagging, and we still haven't fixed the serious debt problems in Spain or the unemployment problems in Spain, Portugal, Greece, you've got Ireland. So there's still a lot of questions in Europe about where they go in the long term for the broader economy, for the EU.
What's interesting as well is I think you'll see Germany over the course of the next 5 years remain very strong as an economy. I think the UK has started to bounce back. But you're right, whether it was the issues in Greece, whether it's Spain and some of the other countries over there, they still have some serious challenges to work through. And we see that when it comes to recruiting top talent as well.
When you talk to executives across the board, across industries, what are they most worried about, Kevin, still? Because I was interviewing Warren Buffett a few weeks ago, and he said, I don't really think there's a big outlying risk to U.S. recovery. Do most executives agree, or are they really concerned about the jobs picture, healthcare, what that's going to cost them? What are they saying?
Well, even though, unemployment's at an all-time high globally, 7.1%, you have, roughly 9% in the United States, I think we are starting to see a recovery in terms of the jobs market.